Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I am your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash and Big Easy at the new Spread studio. Is it new and improved, Dash?
Hardly.
We got more solid floor. It just echoes a lot.
It's very exciting.
Well, we got a good Steelers segment for you right now. We're going to talk about a couple things that have been happening for Pittsburgh in the past, week, I guess, really.
Yeah, what are we calling this segment? Falling apart?
Yeah, pretty much. The biggest thing for me is, what does losing Martavis Bryant mean to the Steelers' offense? I mean, Pittsburgh's coming into this season, high expectations. Everybody's saying we're going to score 30 points a game. The defense is apparently atrocious, according to every sports writer in the city. And then you take a guy who had 8 touchdowns in 10 games last year, you get him out of the lineup. Now what do they do?
I mean, not only that, with the first 2 games, now you're out Bryant and Bell. And then you look at the next 2 games without Bryant, that's at St. Louis and versus Baltimore. That's a huge loss for those games.
In 10 games last year, Bryant had 26 catches, 49 targets, 549 yards, and like I said, 8 TDs. 8 of his 26 catches were for touchdowns. That's 30.7%. That was the highest touchdown per reception percentage in the league. He was second on the team in touchdowns behind Antonio Brown, had a 94-yard touchdown reception. His 48 points scored was 18% of the points that the Steelers offense scored, and that was in only 10 games. So this guy was poised to have a really, really big season, and now, not that it's all for nothing because he'll be back after the 4th week of the suspension, but this really hurts, especially in New England. This is still going to be a hard game, Garoppolo or Brady.
I mean, it was going to be a hard game with Bryant. Now, without him, I mean, we all picked him to win this game, right? I'm not so sure now. And I mean, if you look, in the first 6 games of the season last year, we played without Bryant, and the offense had a lot of problems in those 6 games. And we said during the season as we went along that when they get Bryant involved, this offense looks so much different because it's more than just having Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. It opens everything up for you. They were 3-3 in those first 6 games and did not look good outside of the first half versus Cleveland, the first game of the season. And then when Bryant came in, I mean, they went 8-2 over the next 10 games?
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, that's the difference Bryant makes.
If you would have projected his stats from last year over a full season this year, he would have had 42 catches, almost 900 yards, and 13 touchdowns. You take that out of the offense, 4 games, now he only projects to about 32 catches, 650 yards, and 9 or 10 touchdowns. That doesn't sound like a huge drop-off.
I don't know about 9 or 10 touchdowns either. That sounds like a lot.
Well, I'm just saying his numbers project from last year.
Right.
I know he's not going to score 6 in 4 games, most likely, like he did. But that's in a 12-game season as opposed to a 16-game season. And yeah, even 10 touchdowns sounds like a lot. So you're taking a lot away from this. Sammy Coates is supposed to be the other guy who can go deep for the Steelers, but he couldn't catch a cold I had last week if I spit down his throat.
Yeah, I mean, he has problems catching the ball right now, but it's just preseason, man. Give him some time. You got to give these guys a little bit of time. I mean, we came in after they drafted him, and we knew this guy had problems catching the ball. So, I mean, it is a little worrisome, but I give him a little bit more time. I still believe in this guy somewhat, but I don't really think he's the guy that really takes advantage of this situation. It might be Hayward Bay that gets more playing time, in my opinion.
Yeah, who do you think's going to get the first shot at number 3 easy? Hayward Bay, Dre Archer?
DHB.
Well, it's not going to be Dre
Coates.
Archer because they can't play him full-time because he can't block well enough. You can't have that guy in the game every single play. He's more of a guy you put in spurts and try to get him a ball and use him as a decoy if he can start to show his big play ability.
Well, Hayward Bay had a whopping 3 catches on 5 targets for 33 yards last year. So does he still have the skill set to play in this league at a high level? Because we need our third receiver to play at a high level.
Did he ever have the skill set? That's the question to me.
Not to be a number 1 receiver, but I think he's always had the skill set as a good 3.
I don't know. He's fast. Man, we've been saying this guy's a bust ever since he was drafted.
Yeah, as a first round
as a
pick.
Steeler, I mean, it's not. It's we don't want to hate on him as
good,
much.
man. I mean, he is a huge bust as a first-round pick. As high as Oakland took this guy, huge bust, definitely. But as a third receiver, not your number 1 guy, that's where his skill set was, and that's where he should have been drafted as. He was a slot guy that can go deep.
He don't even have any skills. He has no skills, is that what you're trying to say?
outside of speed, and he's
skillless.
losing that speed as well. But, I mean, the Steelers are high on him this season. They're saying he's having a good camp, and he looks good in the preseason and whatnot.
Everybody's
so, who knows?
high.
Give him a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole
everybody
team's
is high.
stoned.
That was a punk move by Martavis.
Well, who's going to get the targets in these 4 games? Because you got Wheaton, Hayward Bay, Heath Miller, Le'Veon Bell's out for 2 of them, so he's not going to get a lot of them. Is Antonio Brown going to get a huge workload now over those first 4 games? He already had 182 targets last year from Ben Roethlisberger. Is it possible Brown has 200 targets by the end of the season?
I mean, I guess it's possible. I see Wheaton getting more targets, though. If you look last season in those first 6 games, he had over 6 targets per game. And then when Martavis Bryant did start seeing game action, it went down to around 4 targets per game. So, remember, Martavis Bryant doesn't command too many targets.
He's the big play guy.
Yeah, it's just going to be a couple targets a game. I see a lot of those going to Wheaton, and you're going to see Archer make a couple appearances and get some targets as well. You're going to see Hayward Bay get some targets, and you're going to see Coates in there as well, I believe. You're going to see all these guys mix in.
Easy. Last year, Antonio Brown had 19 catches of 20-plus more yards. Who do you think was second on the team? Wheaton, Bryant, Miller, or Bell?
Bryant.
Bell. 10. Le'Veon took 10 passes, 20. I was a little surprised by that, too. I thought for sure it would be Bryant because of the big plays that he had.
See, when you asked me that question, I was thinking Bell at first, but then, I mean, since you asked it, I thought that was the obvious answer, so I didn't want to answer that. And who did I say, Bryant or Wheaton?
I think you might have said Wheaton. I'm not sure. Maybe Bryant. Either one was wrong. Heath Miller actually had 8, too. Can you believe that from Old Country? 8 20-plus yard catches, and people said he was washed up last year. He had 88 targets, 66 catches. His touchdowns were a little lower than you want to see, but Heath Miller, still a stud in my eyes.
Yeah, I was thinking his targets were going to come down a little bit this season. I mean, when you're running 3 wide, he's almost the 5th target.
Right.
So I seen him coming down, but now with Bryant out, maybe his targets go up a little bit in the first few weeks.
But with the injury to Pouncey, do we have to leave Miller in the line a little bit now to help block?
I mean,
I know
it's
Pouncey's
possible.
a center, and Heath's all the way out on the edge, but Heath may lose a little bit of his targets.
I mean, I like Cody Wallace, too. It's not like Cody Wallace is a terrible player.
Yeah, we overinflate the center position as Steeler fans a little bit because we've had such great centers with Webster and Dawson and Hardings even. You can win a Super Bowl without the best center in the league. You know what I mean?
Have we ever had Pouncey for a Super Bowl?
He was not in the Super Bowl because he got hurt and Legursky
Yeah.
played, but he was in that season and helped get us there.
We might have won that Green Bay game, though, if he was in that game.
A lot of Steeler coaches think the same thing. But I'm just saying that just because you lose your center doesn't mean your season's lost. It's not like losing your starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no position that your season's lost if you lose someone outside a quarterback.
Well, speaking of quarterback, the biggest controversy of the last week, 2 weeks here, or whatever it's been for the Steelers, is the fact that they went out and signed Michael Vick. Everybody knows Vick was involved with the whole dogfighting thing. Animal Rescue League just dropped an event at Heinz Field. People were supposedly protesting the Steelers. Steeler fans are in an uproar saying they're going to disown the team and this is horrible. I really don't even... That's all I want to say about the whole dogfighting thing. I want to focus on why I don't think Michael Vick's the right fit because I just don't think he's a good backup quarterback. Michael Vick in his whole career, what has he been? A playmaker. When the play breaks down, he moved around, even if he threw the ball, because he did have a really strong arm. He moved around to stay open. He was never a drop back, throw the ball accurately, crisp routes by his receivers. That was never his MO. And that's what the Steelers' offense is now. You could say Ben Roethlisberger's a guy who makes plays when it breaks down. He does. But he doesn't do it nearly as much as he used to. He's so much more of a pocket passer now. Todd Haley's offense revolves around a pocket passer, not a guy who just runs around to make plays. Vick's never been an accurate guy. He's at 56% for his whole career.
Does have a gun, though.
Yeah, he just can't hit the broadside of a barn.
I tell you what, I look at it like this, man.
And I know Landry Jones is garbage, trust me. And I'm not saying that Vick isn't better than Jones. But
I think he's better than Gronkowski, too.
Well, Gronkowski's going on IR.
Well, I understand, but I look at it as an upgrade from what we had in the first place. I mean, you had Gronkowski as your backup. If Ben goes down, it was Gronkowski. Now, if Ben went down, it was Landry Jones. So, I mean, having Michael Vick as your backup looks better to me. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback or anything anymore, but as a backup, man, if Ben goes down now, at least Steeler fans won't think, oh my God, we lost this game. Landry Jones is our quarterback. I mean, you got Mike Vick in. Maybe something will happen. He keeps you in the game, and you can still win that game.
He might be able to win.
He beat the Steelers last year.
Gronkowski beat the Steelers for the Raiders.
Well,
so
I'm just saying he can win games.
any quarterback can win
a
game. I'm not saying he can't win a game.
Well, not any quarterback.
I'm talking
There's a lot of
about
quarterbacks that
if
cannot
Ben
win a game.
Roethlisberger goes down for any extended period, Mike Vick is not going to hold the ship. It will not be. There are no more Super Bowl aspirations, little that we have here in Pittsburgh right now, if Ben goes down.
There wouldn't have been any with Gronkowski or Landry either, though. So
yeah,
I understand.
That's what I'm saying. Let's say there's 4 games left in the season and Ben gets hurt for 4 weeks. Mike Vick ought to take over for 4 weeks.
We're going to go 0-4.
No, you're lying, man. Mike Vick beat the Steelers last year with the New York Jets. The New York Jets, dude, one of the worst teams in football last season. So he can win games. And let's say he does go 1-3 and barely gets into playoffs. Well, I trust him to go 1-3. I don't trust Landry Jones to go 1-3. I trust him to go 0-4.
Who's better, Gronkowski, Landry Jones, or Geno Smith?
Whew.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith probably, but
Vic couldn't beat him out for a job last year.
Well, no, they gave Geno Smith the job because they want him to be their starting quarterback, and in fact, he did take the job for a little bit from him. But
do you remember the game Vic came in against San Diego?
No, what's up with that game?
Geno got hurt. Vic came in against San Diego. He stunk it up. Came out of the game, asked by a reporter what happened. He said, "Oh, maybe I didn't prepare or I wasn't prepared." And then he admitted that he took his scout team reps for granted that week, and he just didn't really try or prepare to be the starter. He was 8-19 in that game for 47 yards.
Yeah,
so as
terrible.
a backup, that's what I'm saying.
As well.
As a starting quarterback, Vic should be in Buffalo. They have no starter there. Vic can make plays when you give him chunks of plays, a lot of plays. But he's not the guy who comes off the bench and just can win you a game. I just don't see it. He doesn't fit the Steelers' style of offense.
If a linebacker's got to think about Mike Vick running for 1 second, then he's not thinking about Heath running right behind him. So I don't know.
You're right there. I agree. He just doesn't have the legs that he used to, so I don't think too many linebackers are afraid that he's going to run past him.
Bottom line, I see it as an upgrade from what we had, and I mean it's not.
If Gronkowski was still healthy, would you still rather have Vic?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'd roll with Bruce. I can care less.
It doesn't matter really to me.
Bruce was fine.
I mean, if Ben goes down for the season, no matter what, the season was over.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mike Vick, you said it yourself. He can make plays. Maybe he can make a play to win a game if he comes in. Maybe he can't. But Bruce Gronkowski and Landry Jones, the chances are they're not making no plays either.
Is it worth the controversy that it's caused?
I mean, what, with the animal shelter thing?
The whole spiel of fans and all the media,
Yeah, because
they say no media is bad media, but I disagree there slightly.
I haven't listened to any. I really don't care what people say. I mean, he's your backup quarterback. A lot of people think they're going to put in packages for this guy and bring him in the game. That is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. This guy is a backup quarterback now, and that's all he's going to be. And as long as Ben is healthy, it doesn't matter. He could just sit there. But if he goes down, I'd rather have Vic than Landry Jones, in my opinion.
If they try to run a stupid package and bring Ben Roethlisberger off the field to put this loser out there, I'll be so mad. There's a handful of quarterbacks that no matter what, you don't take them off the field.
Vic's going to be in the slot.
I'm hearing we're not really going to see a lot of Vic in today's game against Buffalo because he just hasn't got the practice reps. So expect to see Ben with the starters for the first half, and then Landry get the second half, and then they may give Mike Vick a half or the whole game next week, which doesn't make sense to me because then if he goes down, you're back at square one.
Wouldn't you be happy with that, though, if Vic got hurt? Isn't that what you want?
But I'm saying it doesn't make sense from the Steelers' perspective. I'm not talking about my perspective. If you go out and sign this guy because you think your backup quarterbacks are terrible,
You got to get him some playing time somewhere. If it's
I agree with that. That's the conundrum
the thing I'm worried about going into tonight's game at Buffalo is just coming out with a full roster. I mean, seriously, we cannot lose another player.
Not on the offense, especially. Not that the defense has any depth.
You can't afford another loss.
I mean, if Dre Archer went down, I really wouldn't be too worried.
If our punter broke his leg, I wouldn't care either.
Hey, he's got to show me something before I like him.
Well, that's cool, but you got to give him a
Show me something,
chance.
young blood. I gave
That's
him a
fine,
chance.
man. You didn't give him a chance.
He had a whole chance last year. What happened?
Marcus Wheaton's going into his 3rd year and showed nothing, and you still love this guy, man.
I just like Wheaton as a
I have
slot
no
receiver
problem.
better than you do. I didn't say I love him.
Yeah, you like him as a slot receiver better than I do. You said this guy's going to be a beast. You heard it last week.
Yeah.
Marcus Wheaton is going to be a beast. Jim said it. And that's fine. If you think he's going to be a beast, I have no problem with that. But you're saying Dre Archer is garbage already when you're not even giving this guy a chance, and you gave Wheaton, you're going in your 3rd year with Wheaton when he showed 1 good game so far.
If Easy sat on Archer, he'd die in like 30 seconds.
Dude, Archer is stronger than you think, dude. Think about this. 5'8", 175 pounds, man. How tall are you?
6'3",
And how much do you weigh?
170 pounds, and I'd knock that sumbitch out.
He would crush you. He'd probably crush all 3 of us at once, dude.
Dude, I'd just shoot him. If JK-47 was here, he comes to the studio strapped.
You understand he's 7 inches shorter than you and 5 pounds heavier? I mean, have you ever seen this guy? He is a straight monster, dude, and he's the fastest guy in the NFL, at least arguably. Listen.
Throw in arguably.
Who's
faster, him or Vick?
Yeah, please. Archer. But listen, he's the fastest guy in the NFL, man. He ran the 2nd fastest 40 ever at the Combine behind only Chris Johnson, and there's no way Chris Johnson is as fast as him anymore. They're going to make him the main kick returner, and from what I understand, from what Tomlin said, the main punt returner as well. And you said you don't like that. You still want Antonio Brown
as the punt returner.
Man, that
maybe
scares
not
me so
full time. I get
so
what you're
important.
saying.
Oh, yeah, listen, if you need a touchdown or
Yeah.
if you need a big play, Antonio Brown's still going to go in the game. It's not going to, unless Dre Archer completely comes a beast.
I'll give Archer this. He's looked better on kickoff returns this preseason than he did last year. Last year, he didn't even have 1 return over 20 yards. So until he can actually run
he was bad last
further,
year.
you know.
And he admits it too, and Tomlin admits it, but he's been working hard, and yeah, he can't block, so he's not going to get a full load on the offensive side, but you are going to see him get a few touches per game on the offensive side because he is a big play guy, and if he can start to produce those big plays, he's going to become a decoy then, and that's going to open everything else up for the Steelers offense as well.
If he can come up with 3 to 5 big plays
over the season,
yes, that affect the outcome of the game, maybe not exact directly, like his touchdown wins the game or whatever,
right.
But if he comes up with that, I'll give him some credit. But until then, he's still, because of how high we drafted him, he was too much of a luxury pick when the Steelers needed depth in other positions.
I don't really argue with the whole draft process thing. But that doesn't make a guy garbage just because you drafted him too high. It's the Steelers' fault they drafted him too high. It's not his fault.
I just want to give a quick shout-out to Shamarko Thomas before we end this segment, because Shamarko isn't doing anything especially great in practice or in camp, but he's not doing anything really that bad. He got burned in that Jacksonville game.
I seen him have a sack.
He blew that coverage. Yeah, he talked to Troy Polamalu right after that Jacksonville game. He was texting him. It kind of sounded like he was texting him from the sideline from what I was reading, and that's illegal, so we won't tell anybody that. But Troy just told him to stay up, stay disciplined, stay in your zones, play your game. Don't try to play outside yourself. You know what I mean? Don't try to be Troy, obviously, and don't try to make bigger plays than you need to. In the Steelers defense, it's all about doing your job. And the defensive coordinator and the coach, they have it set up so that if everybody just does their job, usually things work out. So Shamarko's getting better at that. He's been horrible defensively. He's played all right special teams, but he got almost, 2 snaps, I think, or no snaps at all on defense last year.
Yeah, that's the thing that scares me the most. I wish I would have seen more of this guy coming into the season, knowing that we have to trust this guy back there now.
But that was the Steelers.
I'm going to give him a chance. I mean, you got to give him a chance no matter what. I don't have high hopes. I don't have high hopes for him, but I am going to give him a chance and hope he turns out to be better than expected.
Obviously, he'll be no Troy Polamalu. You'll never see that again anywhere in the NFL.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before, too.
I think Shamarko can be a game changer. He has ball skills, and that's what you need out of that safety, the strong safety position in the Steelers' defense. You just have to have good instincts and ball skills. And if he can go up and break up plays, not even come up with all the interceptions. The corner's got to help out there, too. Willie Gay did a good job last year. But I think Shamarko will be solid. I'm not as nervous about him as other people are, even though he hasn't shown anything in a regular season yet. Just from what I've been hearing, he's on the right track. He's going to give up big plays. I'm not saying he's not going to get burned, and it'll probably be early in the year. So look for him to just get a little better each game, and the second half of the season is when I think he'll really come on. But it won't be as terrible as what people think, and you already know, Dash, I'm big on the Steelers' defense. I think they're going to come out and have a bigger year than most people believe.
They might have somewhat of a better year if they can stop so many big plays, but they ain't going to score as many touchdowns either.
I think they'll be better than last year.
More touchdowns. They're going to score more.
No. I'm not saying they're going to score more. I just think overall they'll be more consistent and just be a better defense. They're a fast defense now, man. All those young players may be inexperienced.
I hope
but
you're right.
They
There's
are
so many
fast.
questions. I mean, obviously, Shamarko, Cortez Allen's a question. We got questions at linebacker. I mean, a lot of people saying James Harrison's our best linebacker still, and that's scary. Lawrence Timmons, you said, had turf toe, correct?
Yeah, that's
so.
the thing I'm
I mean,
scared
there's so
about.
many questions.
I hear Shazir's having a good camp, and people
Oh yeah.
are impressed
Well,
with
I was
Jones,
never
too.
worried about Shazir. He's one of the more trustable linebackers we have right now, actually, outside of Timmons, if he can stay healthy.
What do you mean trustable?
Well, I mean, you got Bud Dupree. I mean, Moats is somewhat trustable, I guess, but he's never been a full-time starter or anything. And then Jarvis Jones, obviously, he's not fully trustable right now. So Shazier's one of our more trustable linebackers.
That's it, dude. Trustable.
Is that even a word?
It is
Keep 'em.
now.
It is
trademarked. Spread properties. The biggest thing, like I just said a minute ago, the Steelers' defense is fast, and when you give up a big play, Dash, what's the easiest way to catch up? Speed.
Score points.
Speed.
60
Well, listen, one more
So
thing
keep it
about
up.
Mike Vick. Do you think they brought him in to scare the dog pound?
Possibly. I like it.
Yeah, that was a good
Especially
one.
when they gave Easy the finger and surrounded him, and
Yeah.
a 14-year-old
Have you been
girl told him
listening to
go bleep
93.7
himself.
at all recently? Some dude called in and said they're a cat town, and now they just cut that clip and keep playing it every day now,
Oh,
saying
good Lord.
Pittsburgh's a cat town. It's ridiculous.
Too much. I stopped listening when Vic got signed because I couldn't handle all the idiots. But that's all we got for you today in our Steelers segment. Thank you, fans, for listening. Thank you guys for coming in studio. Fans, you can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube. Click subscribe. Here we go, Steelers. Beat the hell out of Buffalo.
Fully trustable.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. Stay up.